preparing the demonstration, that until until you prove to security or agencies of the state your clear your clear routes, your clear maybe destination also. Okay, maybe the destination in this regard could be paramount, but how will you be protected? Because us in the security takes top priority in everything that is to be done, or that is being done, or that has been done before. We must ensure that everyone o- is protected with their property. That's why His Excellency the President was referring to the women and maybe men and children who are on the roads doing their businesses, referring to those selling tomatoes and any other. If you're saying we are coming up to demonstrate, yes, you could be referring to the constitution, and every citizen has a right to their opinions. We don't argue much about that, but we have a duty to protect everyone wherever they are. And our country hasn't gone to the levels of having demonstration fields. So now that we don't know where the demonstrators will, for example, converge, which directions they are they'll be coming from, or they are to take, it is a concern. And us in security, we in unison or in agreement, we are saying, isn't it better for the demonstrators to engage with the officers and say, these are our complaints, follow them up and conclude them? Yes, to answer your question, Solomon, um, we all are tired of corruption, and we have been fighting corruption. But corruption is everywhere, and it is a responsibility of every citizen. And again, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda holds each citizen responsible to fight corruption wherever they are. So if our friends on this space are saying their way to fight is through demonstration, can we then plan together and know which which direction are they coming from? Who is leading? Where do they want to converge? They have, and we'll see how whether this demonstration is going to have results. I will account if we reach to that. If you ask me to account for the work that we are doing, or have been doing, or did before, and continue to do it. Solomon, have I answered your question?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll maybe give you another question. But I thought I would first take a round through my panelists. Agatha, you've heard it from Kano Edith Nakalema that as a member of the security system, the protesters are supposed to get permission and they have to be protected as they protest. But going from her submission, looks like it's not green lights for the protesters to go on. But you've also heard that Kano Edith Nakalema as well has said she's very passionate about fighting corruption. Let me bring you in. The march is on to Parliament tomorrow. The security forces are saying no. Ugandans feel they are tired of fighting corruption because they are not being heard. Agatha, you're one of the people who has been at the center of pushing back against corruption, especially in Parliament, and perhaps that's one of the things that explains why Ugandans think that they should send this petition to Parliament. Would love to hear your views on the protest tomorrow.
Uh, Hi, Solomon. Good evening to you and everyone. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes. So I don't know where to start from. I think I should start from a few of the comments of Kano Edith Nakalema that you also highlight. The first being about the march to Parliament and how they need to get permission and protection from the the security agencies. I have a call coming in, but you can hear me still. There must have been an interruption.
Yes.
Okay, let me first state it clearly, as I think my colleague did, that Agora is not behind the March to Parliament. We were asked about, we saw that the organizers of the march were using information we have shared on our flyers about the abuse of funds in Parliament and budget corruption that has been going on. And I think we were at the beginning contacted. We talked to the people that contacted us, and I said, for me, how I understand my role and the role of the team at Agora is in bridging that information gap, that we understand our role in this struggle against corruption as putting accurate information right there and information that can be acted upon. Ideally, you would expect the party or the body acting upon that information to be government. That when journalists have put out this information, government agencies that are responsible have investigated these issues and people have been prosecuted. We have not seen that. We have not seen that in Uganda in a long time. Kano Edith Nakalema says she's as passionate about fighting corruption as the people that want to march, or many Ugandans are, but maybe passion is not enough, Kano, with all due respect, because we have seen corruption increase to now being at about 10 trillion shillings lost annually in corruption. So my suspicion is that when young Ugandans saw that that the government, which has the mandate and the responsibility to take this action, has not, or is haphazard about it, picking up a few people selectively and saying that others can be forgiven. In the speeches that the president has given, I think the young people said that they want to be heard, to demand for that. So like I said, we told them that for us, we'll stick to this role that we think we can best execute, and however else Ugandans want to take that forward, we have no control over that. That said, the issue of police giving permission and giving protection, there's nowhere in the law where anyone who wants to organize or participate in a peaceful protest is required to seek permission from police. The law only requires the protesters to notify police. And in case there was any confusion at any point about the law, both in the Police Act and the Public Order Management Act that came in later, the Constitutional Court has clarified on it twice. First, in the case of Mwanga Chivumbi versus Attorney General, where the Section 32 of the Police Act that was giving police prohibitive powers was nullified. And second, in the case of Human Rights Network, I think, against Attorney General, where Section 8 of the Public Order Management Act was also nullified. And in both cases, they were saying that what the citizens need to do is only to notify the police, and the police has the duty to protect them. In the letter of the police to the protesters, they said that that they have intelligence that there are some elements that have that want to cause chaos or something like that. So in that case, the latter case where Section 8 of the POMA was nullified, I think it was Justice Shebelion Badishake who said that even in the case of a music rally, a music concert, there's foreseeability of violence, and it is the role of the police. That's why it is notified, so that it is there to avoid, to make sure that violence doesn't take place, to make sure people are protected. So when Kano Edith Nakalema reiterates what the President Museveni said the other day, that they would not be allowed, we would like to know the basis for them to say that. I think that when when you go to these other issues of corruption, and you correctly said the things we have been exposing since must have been 2021 or 2022, starting with the purchase of luxurious cars at inflated prices. That was the time when children in Karamoja were starving. Remember the hunger in Karamoja that killed people? That was 2022, around the same time, July, June. We did not see any action from Edith Nakalema, from this government, that why did you flout procurement laws? Why were these cars not procured through the right channels and all that? We went into so many other issues until the recruitment. We wrote about illegal recruitment in Parliament for such a long time. No one cared until the exhibition came, and even I, who thought I had an idea about the corruption that was happening in Parliament, I was shocked by the magnitude, by the proportions. But nothing has been done. I think when you're telling Ugandans that there are other non-antagonistic ways, you need to tell them which ones, because they trusted you. They trusted the government that starts up a new anti-corruption outfit every other day, where public resources are spent to do that, and it's not doing that. So I think you actually close off all the avenues, and then citizens decide that they are on their own. They have to do this in a way that they can be heard. And the way they can be heard is not illegal unless we go and amend the constitution again and make that illegal, which is really a right that is inherent anyway. I have heard about these other issues and all that. I think we really allow for people to express themselves, and as long as they are doing that within the law, and just do of ensuring that happens as peacefully as it can. If there's any other thing I didn't touch on, Solomon, among the things you asked, I would be glad to answer it now, and I attend to something else. I am glad Godwin Toko is here. He represents the views of majority of us at Agora, but I thought, let me in a few minutes give you my own personal views.
All right, thanks, Agatha. We hope that you can stay a little bit longer, but I'll bring you back later. In the second hour, I will be opening up the mic for you, our dear listeners, to be part of the conversation. And so I see all the microphones. I see them, but that's in about 18 minutes. I should be opening up the microphone after my panelists have submitted. Let me bring in Yusuf Serunkuma. Yusuf, you are in the academia. You are also a political commentator and you're a columnist. Tomorrow, Ugandans are marching to parliament because they don't feel like they are heard, because some of them feel like there's not been any attention given to this issue of corruption, and they want to present a petition. And from the spaces I've attended before, they're saying that it's going to be a peaceful protest. And yet, from what we saw today, there was preventive arrest, according to the police, that happened at the National Unity Platform, where they arrested the deputy president of the National Unity Platform, Dr. Lina Zedriga. Preventive arrests, and of course, the call is clear that there will be no demonstrations from police. What do you make of this?
Thank you, Solomon. I just want to say that, first of all, directly to Afande Nakalema, that I think that he's here and represents the leadership. They have set a dangerous precedent for this country. They have set us on a really dangerous path. The path that responds to all expression of dissidence with violence. There will always be technicalities. You've not fulfilled this technicality. There could be this type of injury. You might cause this. could be disruption here and there. But the claim of violence that they are more than ready to unleash onto those expressing discontent is a dangerous path. Because once, and I'm paraphrasing Fanon here, once the oppressed understand that their oppressor, the only language the oppressor understands is violence, they also respond in that language. Once those in power constantly respond with accusations of violence, and they're also willing to respond with violence, those that live under their tyranny, those that live under their governance, at one point realizes that the only language our leaders understand is violence, and they respond in the language that the leader understands. I mean, the IGG told us that thieves hide behind Mr. Museveni. That when you check the trail of theft, the last person you're going to find is Yoweri Museveni himself. Thieves go and hide behind Mr. Museveni. This is the IGG. Yoweri Museveni himself recently told us that he knows the thieves. They are his permanent secretaries, town clerks, and many other people. We have not seen a single arrest. Right? And at that moment, when people say we want to at least express discontent peacefully, nobody has threatened violence. We want to express our discontent, our dissatisfaction. And the first thing you accuse them is that there's potential for violence. And they dare to the suggested date of the event, you start arresting people. The precedent is really dangerous that at one point, the people will understand that the only language our leaders understand is violence, and they will respond in that language. You see, the claim that you cannot allow people to demonstrate because you don't know their roots and where they're going to be is really a difficult one, because when market vendors say they are protesting from where they work, from within their spaces of operation, they're not allowed to do that. But they work here. This is their place. If there's a loss of business, they'll be losing their business. University students choosing to demonstrate and protest within their own university. If there is any loss, which is going to happen in terms of education, it is them to lose their more time for study. You cannot allow them to demonstrate. Then when and where and who should have the freedom to demonstrate, to fulfill the constitutional requirement that you're free in peaceful or even in violence at an extreme reading, protest those that lead you in case of egregious misappropriation. When? You see, the funny part of that claim, Solomon, is that while you are unwilling to protect those who have promised and notified you about their intention to protest, while you are unwilling and not ready, and you find that you don't have the competence to give them security, you are willing to unleash violence onto every nook and cranny of the city if they somehow manage to protest. Isn't that ironical that you have the capacity to unleash violence to anywhere they're likely to be, but when they promise they're going to be in these spaces, you argue that you can't offer them security? It boggles the mind. And you've got to go back to what I said at the beginning, that once those living under your governance understand that the only language you understand in engaging with them is violence, they respond in that language. A small comment, I think two more comments, Solomon, because I think I started off with directly responding to Edith. Agora has explicitly said, I think Godwin said it, Agatha said it too, that they're not behind the protest. And I feel it's as amongst ourselves who are pro protests and demonstrations in this content, I think it's unfair. It's well, they will say you can deal with, but because protests need their icons, right? We need our icons, and for the last so many months, Agora has led the movement in exposing and exhibiting the crimes of our government, right? The crimes of the Edith Nakalemas. I feel like at this moment they would have carried on because they've been our icons of the struggle, right? For the last so many months, they've held fort as the lead exhibitors alongside Spice and Tongo. I feel this is a dent to the protest, because unlike other people who have spoken, who have posted on their platforms, I think there is nothing like a leaderless protest. I think that's not true. A leaderless protest doesn't go far. It is true that you don't have to have a chain of command, say so and so is the leader, and then you have to engage in this kind of manner. You don't do that, but I think protests have their icons. They have mobilizers, they have organizers, they have choir leaders, rather cheerleaders. They have icons that stand up and mobilize, that we follow them, right? They're not leaders necessarily. You can't call them leadership, but they are the icons of the struggle. I felt that Agora pulling out is not the thing to do, and the claim that we can have it without leadership is difficult because venues have to be, and you realize that quickly. Edith Nakalema jumped onto it to say we don't know who is deciding which venues to protest, blah blah blah. So I think at some point we need to generate icons, and I think I write this week in the Observer that we need to create as many icons as possibly could, right? And I want